Clean cooking is a subject that we must discuss because we are discussing subjects of importance and subjects that make sense to us as a country and as a continent. And so we want to invite Fred. Fred is a monitoring and evaluation advisor at GIZ, very passionate about clean cooking, has been doing a lot of work in this sector, is very well versed in it. He specifically has interest in capacity building in this area, and so he's here to speak to us about that. He has a Master's of Science degree in Energy Economics and Policy from the University of Surrey in the UK. He has a Bachelor's of Commerce degree in Ops Management from UON and a Technical Diploma in Chem Engineering from TUC, and very many professional certifications. So from the heart of he who wants to talk to us about clean cooking, let's give a rousing round of applause for Fred Amariati. Please come and talk to us about clean cooking.
It's so risky talking after Caro and Nora. I'll be honest, matching that energy and Caro's. How do you do that? What do you take in the morning? We should pick some cues from her. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fredrick Amariati. I think Karas mentioned that. And I have the honor of standing between you and lunch. And simply because now we will talk about cooking, because we're going to partake of what is seen as a product of cooking, isn't it? But I won't spend so much of your time. But one of the things when such forums happen is we have a lot of information about this, the electricity subsector, isn't it? We talk about generation, we talk about distribution, we talk about consumption at the household or institutions level, which is a beautiful subject. Actually, normally we say it's one of the most interesting subjects to talk about when we talk about energy. And one of the areas we also say, why don't we also talk about it, is cooking. Whichever way you look at it, whether you come from a village. Let me do a small poll. How many of us live in an urban area? We live in town. Just a quick show of hands would help. Okay, how many of us live in a village or somewhere rural? Please remember to find the definition for rural in the existing documents. Okay, let me make it a bit simpler, isn't it? How many of us can consider that they came from a rural area, a village of some kind of sort? All of us, isn't it? Most interesting one. When was the last time, lift your hand if the last time you were in your village was like 2-3 months ago. About 30-40% of us, isn't it? How many of us can remember how the kitchen where your mother or your guardian cooks from looks like? Okay. How many of us can remember their mom or guardian cooking using the 3-stone fire? You know it, isn't it? The mawe tatu. How many of us still think their mom does that even today? You guys are good, you know? You're really doing well. All right. How many of us can say they have, how do we define clean, Carol? Let's just say clean means something that when you used to cook in your house, there's not much smoke. You don't feel like you want to run away from that room. How many of us have such a technology in their house? Okay, so that technology might mean you cook with electricity, isn't it? It might mean you cook with LPG, right? It might mean you cook with the cocoa stove. I'm sure you know, most of us know it, isn't it? It might mean you cook with a charcoal stove as well, isn't it? That yes was not convincing. So is it a charcoal or a firewood stove, isn't it? You have jikopoa, isn't it? All right. And how many of us have ever cooked with the open stone fire, the 3-stone? We've done it while we were growing up, isn't it? And most of us sadly still do that until today. The difference is this happens a lot most in the rural areas where most of us, I would say, claim to come from or probably seriously come from. Let me say that. And the question is, there are all these discussions around cooking and why we need to consider how we cook. There are also discussions on why we should let people cook the way they do now to preserve their cultures. They have their own reasons of doing things the way they do. And these discussions are healthy and they're really happening. But there's this nice transition happening in the sector. This transition from, let me call it for now, don't crucify me for this, the traditional way of cooking to adopting improved cooking solutions. Or now we call them the clean cooking solutions. And when we talk about these solutions, we look at them in so many ways. Some of them use biomass, the firewood and charcoal stoves. You guys have them to cook dairy and those nice hard foods. Some of us have the other cleaner solutions like LPG, where we used to cook a meal for 5 to 10 minutes, the tea in the morning, warming food over lunch that you cooked the previous night with the charcoal stove, etc. There's electricity cooking. The e cooking now, it's becoming a big subject in the sector. And it's interesting because what we know is we have a lot of electricity generated. I don't know if Chris can confirm that. Crucify me later, but feel free to rectify that as you stand up. But we know we are producing more than we're consuming as a country, isn't it? And it's touted that the cooking sector, if we go the electrical cooking way, we can consume some of what we produce. There are all sorts of discussions that are happening. But the question is, how much emphasis do we give to this subject? Anytime you think about it, sitting with your friends, talking to your colleagues, your peers, and in such forums, you know, how much do we dedicate to talking about cooking? Cooking in so many senses, and we look at it from the side of technologies. What technologies do we use to cook? What fuels do we use to cook, wherever you come from or wherever you are? At GIZ Kenya, we try to make sure some of these discussions are brought on board, and this is one of the best places to talk about it. And when you talk about cooking, and you guys are going to eat, I need you to remember something. As you sit here, or probably sit in the urban areas, you're using LPG, electricity to cook. There's someone in the rural areas, could not be your parent, could be a neighbor, someone else, who's still using the 3-stone open fire for cooking. And we have so many studies that have been done on the effects of smoke when we inhale it. There's so many discussions around indoor household air pollution. What happens when you smoke a lot of this smoke? You know, when it comes into your system, what happens? The health guys will tell you there's about 25,000 deaths or slightly more, but there are more deaths in every year on an annual basis that comes from the effects of smoking and indoor air pollution. These are conversations I would like you to think about as you go to eat. You're eating food made probably from, I assume these guys use electricity or LPG, but there's someone in some area cooking with the same food, but there's some technologies that most of us look at as dirty, isn't it? Think about it. And then as we think about it, what are the things that we can do? And I like addressing issues from a value chain perspective. And I think most of us have talked about that. We have people who produce and supply the stoves used in the rural areas, isn't it? There are the likes of Cocoa and Ban who do it industrially, and you can get from the supermarkets and wherever. The level of support that goes to both these groups is a bit varied, you know. Cocoa and Ban can walk into financial institutions, apply for a loan, and improve their processes. Perfect. Money comes in, we have nice branded stoves coming out. But those of us who live in the rural areas have the only guys who are close by are those who produce these solutions in a very artisanal way. I get clay, I get water, I get some sand, do some bit of mixing, produce what we call a ceramic liner. That thing you see in that charcoal stove for information is a ceramic liner. It's made from clay and some stuff mixed together to make that. And then it's fired. It becomes what we call a fired liner, which now the Juakali guy in the village or in some shopping center picks up. He puts that metallic thing outside. We call that cladding, those of us who love to know. And that's a bit of value addition. And then they sell to you or for you, you pick it for your parents or whoever it is you're picking for. The processes in producing these are very manual, very artisanal, very crude. Let me use that word. But again, look at these two guys who has access to thousands and thousands of households, actually direct access in the rural areas, and is on an annual basis, churning out these solutions and giving to households. Think about this. What if we target these guys here and try to improve their processes? What impact shall we have? This will be the main discussion in smart such forums. Those of us producing industrially produced stoves will keep, most of us will say, we need to develop our distribution chains. We are only producing from Nairobi and we can't get the rural areas. But there's another way of looking at it. Look at these Juakali guys in the villages who are doing this business and they have direct access to the market we really want to get to. What if we just thought the other way around and supported this sector? Improve their processes, probably support the machines and equipment and the skills they need to do even in a better way. How much impact are we likely to have? Way much more, isn't it? I'm not giving any specific way of approaching the issue of helping our households or communities adopt clean cooking solutions. But all I'm saying is we can have these conversations over and over again. As we go for lunch, I still go back to the point I said earlier. Grab a meal, have fun, enjoy, network, whatever you do. But I also like you to think about where you come from, all right? If your parent doesn't have a clean solution, cooking solution, a nice stove, not a nice, but a stove that responds to needs that respect her health status, think about it, what it is that you can do. If they don't understand why it's good to adopt some of these solutions, take some time, talk to them why it's affecting their health. And most of us know that. Your parents are struggling with respiratory diseases. You keep treating and give them medication, but when you go to the kitchen, you turn a blind eye to what's happening there, you know. I promised you would listen. So now, let's think about that. The subject of cooking needs some kind of attention, and we are the best professionals to provide this attention. Think about it. Talk about whoever cares to hear. Let's see what can happen when we all adopt some cleaner cooking solutions wherever we are and what can happen on our economy. How many students are here? The students, anyone from? Yeah, we still say you're the guys who run most of the sectors. From the electricity side, you see the innovations coming up from institutions, colleges, universities, etc. The cooking sector, the entire value chain from the supply side all the way to the demand side is awash with a lot of opportunities in terms of designing these cooking solutions, designing how they are produced, the processes that happen therein, all the way to designing how we are able to monitor the effect or get more real-time data on what's happening on the demand side, which should again redefine how we come up with our solutions. Consider that as a value chain you want to think about. Lots of opportunities coming up, just open up your ears. From the GIZ side, I think we are happy to work together with the sector players, and thank you, current team, and looking forward to future collaborations. Enjoy your lunch and thank you.
Thank you. I think there's a rallying call the whole of this morning, and I think it will extend into tomorrow. What can we do now without waiting for somebody else to come and do something? And so, Amariati, you've challenged us as we eat our lunch to ask ourselves, what can we do now, even as we enjoy this lunch that has been cooked in a clean cooking situation? What can we do about those who do not have the same privilege? You're taking to us to think about the privilege that we have. What about those who do not have the same privilege? What can we do? And because we are all going to not sit with the person we came with, you know how we come to these forums, we sit with the person we came with, we have our own discussion. You will not sit with the person you came with. Find somebody who you didn't come with, find out who they are, ask them, because this is homework. It's not homework, it's lunch work, because you're not going home to do it. It's lunch work. And those online, please ask each other on the chat, what are we going to do to enhance clean cooking?